Sequels. It seems like even the most amazing, most highly esteemed games and series out there can be completely making or breaking by that one word. Heck, sequels even hold the power to make or break entire franchises. While yes, sequels don't always perform better than their original predecessors, there have been a good number of sequels that have pulled in the same or more attention than their original titles, whether that's for improving on the beloved features of the game they followed, reinventing their predecessor entirely, or just being more of what the original was in a new way. Actually, you'd be surprised at how many sequels are great just because their predecessors were amazing, and fans will grab at anything that was a continuation of the game they love to play, with the bonus of more sequel hindsight polish, more extra features or ideas thrown in to spice up the pot, and potentially an entire reinventing of the original game into something familiar yet brand new and exciting. I think you can already see where I'm going with this, but I'll iterate exactly what I mean. I really think Wizard of Legend deserves a sequel. I really think it. Really? Yes, even though sequels aren't always massive successes, some games need sequels anyway, as the benefits so hardly outweigh the potential negatives of a flop or flop in sales. And such is the case with Wizard of Legend. This game right here, as the kids would say, slaps. Wizard of Legend is by far one of my most favorite roguelikes out there. It's just fun. At its core, Wizard of Legend is a fast-paced, spell-slinging roguelike. In the game, you play as a wizard attempting to complete the Chaos Trials, an annual magical competition held to seek out worthy wizards. On your quest, you battle through multiple dungeons filled with unique elemental monsters and bosses, defeating them using the arcana, relics, and cloaks you collect as you progress until you finally face off with Master Sura to become a Wizard of Legend. The gameplay is fast and solid, the graphics are awesome, the plethora of items are, well, numerous. The enemies are very well designed and diverse, and the settings and music are spectacular. This game is just a banger, perfectly encapsulating the core pieces that make roguelikes great, like great replayability and item diversity, while also adding its own fun and unique magic spin to the mix, with tons of creative magical enemies, arcana, relics, cloaks, and more. Overall, chef's kiss. I could go on about why the game is great, but that's not what we're here for. The fact of the matter is, this game slaps, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Hundreds, thousands of people would agree with me, and while that may not seem like a lot of fans compared to other titles, well, you try counting to 1,000 and come back when you're done. Or don't. I don't know. Whatever, this joke is dumb. So since this game does indeed slap, and since many people would agree, and since it's been 4 years since this game's release, I want more. And Wizard of Legend deserves more. Now, I know, the game is being updated semi-regularly, thereby getting the more content I claim to be looking for, but I'm still an advocate for the idea of a sequel. Updates, heck, even full expansions or DLC, however grand they are, have their limitations. For one, they need to adhere to the same style, graphics, and gameplay of their original title, like we're not getting a full new anti-gravity mechanic for Call of Duty Warzone. They also have to adhere to size and scope restrictions, as updates in DLC can only be so big and so unique before they become more of a separate game themselves instead of updates or DLC. And giving away an entirely separate game for free... Oh my gosh. Wow, that was quite a voice crack. And giving away an entirely separate game for free or at a lower price with DLC with an original game is kind of a big money drainer for developers. And such is the case for Wizard of Legend. Again. There's been several great updates and DLC made for the game, but they have their limitations. They are usually just a new element, new arcana, relics, or cloaks, or something of the likes, which is great, but they often lose their novelty after some hours of playing them, since in the end they are just an addition to the base game. The most they will ever be is only part of the original game. Basically, they don't have nearly as much potential as a sequel does, as a sequel can and most likely would be way more than just small expansions on the original game, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Besides, considering the low number of sales and players of the game, even with added updates and DLC, a sequel could draw in tons of fans to the series and revitalize it, which the game could definitely use right about now. It's no secret that the game didn't exactly perform the best sales-wise. This was due to a variety of reasons, but I think a big one was just its lack of publicity, something that's kind of out of its control. I think the game is great, and I think that there's a chance that other people who may potentially play it would agree, so a sequel could be just what the game needs to boost both the sequels and the original's popularity, garnering interest in both itself and the original due to the fact that a new Wizard of Legend game would probably draw public attention to both the new and original games, along with the sequel being a potential improvement to the original game to garner more fans' interest, something that updates and DLC just can't do. So, personally, I feel like a better, or rather more appealing option for more Wizard of Legend content would be a sequel. Something that is different than Wizard of Legend, but still adheres to the core of what the game is, a magic spell-slinging roguelike. Updates in DLC and the such are fine, but I think that after 4 years of similar updates in DLC, the fanbase is ready for a new entry to the Wizard of Legend series. And seeing as Wizard of Legend has well gone over its sales peak, I think any time in the near future is a good time to put up a new title, for both returning fans and to amass new fans. It's about time for something that can continue the legacy of Wizard of Legend on, with new ideas and inventiveness, while also giving us more of the already amazing Wizard of Legend. What will those new ideas and inventiveness be exactly? I honestly don't know, and I don't particularly care. In general, the only thing I would certainly want for a sequel is that it would still be a roguelike and still follow the same general gameplay as the original. I would be totally down for a cool 3D Wizard of Legend, or perhaps a Wizard of Legend with a new form of magic apart from Arcana, or just simply the same game as the original but made with new graphics, gameplay mechanics, fresh ideas, new enemies, dungeons, bosses, items, etc. Whatever they decide to do, I know Contingent 99, Wizard of Legends developer, has some talented people, so I have no doubt that whatever they could cook up would be a pretty big success with fans, because again, as long as it's more Wizard of Legend, any new Wizard of Legend game would be great just because it's more Wizard of Legend with some new spins, potentially brand new reinvention, and polish, garnering both returning fans and potentially lots of new fans alike. Now, with all of that said, how probable is a Wizard of Legend sequel in reality? Not that probable in all honesty. I haven't picked up on any hints that Contingent 99 is working on a sequel, and there hasn't really been a huge outcry for a sequel by the fanbase, at least not enough to be very relatively noticeable. I don't really see much incentive for a sequel from a business standpoint either. Wizard of Legend wasn't exactly a massive sales success compared to other roguelikes similar to it, and since sequels don't tend to live up to their originals in terms of sales, it is variable as to how exactly well a new game would do financially for Contingent 99. They could just do another Kickstarter like they did for the original Wizard of Legend, but there's no guarantee that it would do as well as the original. Of course, it could do as well or even better than the original, but that's not a definite. And even though there's a chance that the sequel could do as well as I think it would, it's arguably not exactly the most probable chance. But, with all of that said, I still 100% think Wizard of Legend deserves a sequel, and should be considered if it's possible. It's just such a fun and beloved game by thousands that was unfortunately buried. And while it's updated semi-regularly with DLC added as well, it's not exactly flooding with updates in DLC. And besides, those updates in DLC have their limitations as opposed to the more open possibilities that come with the sequel. Plus, it's been 4 years now of similar updates in DLC, and while those updates in DLC are great, I assume many others would love to see some brand new ideas, mechanics, and scope come to life in a brand new Wizard of Legend. A game that could potentially completely revitalize the Wizard of Legend series. Perhaps it's not feasible, and perhaps it's probably not ever happening, but a man can dream, can't he? Or a still image on a screen from your perspective. Still, I can dream. Probably. But, in reality, I must ask you, dear viewers, what do you think about a Wizard of Legend sequel? Would you want to see one, or instead more updates in DLC, or neither? How feasible is a sequel for the game? Please let me know in the comments. Also, while you're commenting away, I'd be totally up to making a video about some of my more full ideas of what a Wizard of Legend sequel could potentially look like. So, if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. That was the hardest voice crack I think I've ever recorded. Oh my, it was like we're in physics and we're learning about slopes. It was like the velocity versus time graph just went shwoo. Fuck? I'm leaving that in. I'm leaving that in the video. Yep, that's gonna stay. That is definitely gonna stay.